What's up guys, Gino's Music here. I'm excited to be making this video. These are my 5 favorite albums from 2025. These are the best releases. We're going to go down from 5 to 1. We've had a lot of bullshit drop this year. I'm not going to lie to you, and you know that yourself. You can think of multiple albums that were absolute stinkers. And from some great artists as well. But, of course, with every year, there's always diamonds in the rough. And we have some significant projects here which shouldn't be overlooked. And I'm excited to get into. Number 5. I got into this project quite recently, even though it is pretty new, and that's Rebel by SD Kid. I really enjoyed this project. I heard of SD Kid like majority of people through TikTok. His music was blowing up and really trending across every kind of TikTok genre you would be following. So I feel like majority of users had been exposed to his music quite quickly. But it took me a while to officially dive into his album, Rebel. And what actually got me to do that was Living, the album, 4 Raws. I was 4 man deep in Leo's German, pause, and we were just talking about SD Kid, and then that really pushed me to actually listen to the album because I was like, shit, these songs are banging. I had known some of the big songs, but then again, like, that's majority of this project. Every song you hear on it is a TikTok hit. And I, for one, really like that. I like the music you hear when you go out. Why wouldn't you want your favorite songs to be playing on repeat? As I said before, the album is quite short, standing at only 20 minutes. This is a really easy listen as well. The transitions, like from 4 Raw to Kellyman, was like mind-blowing. And there's several of these throughout the project. It all adds to that easily listenable attribute that this project carries. My favorites from this project would be 4 Raws, Kellyman, and Mist, probably. But I love, like, all of these songs. He did not miss, which is very impressive, and that is why SD Kid goes to number 5, and he could probably get higher had I had this project a bit longer. Number 4, Sabrina Carpenter's Man's Best Friend. This is a really strong album and a solid contender for Album of the Year. I agree with that sentiment. The first taste of this album that we received was a bit earlier in the year with Manchild. What a great way to open up the project. To be honest, I feel like it gave a little bit of the wrong idea about what to expect, but nonetheless, a really great album. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Short and Sweet is still my favorite Sabrina album. I don't think she's going to knock it off personally, but this is genuinely a great addition to the catalog. Moving on from Manchild, we went into Tears, like back-to-back fucking slaps in the face. Great song. Tears is insane. I understand why that is the big hit. Like, that is a great song. I get the appeal completely. She killed that shit. But then we also slow down from the bangers and we move on to something like Sugar Talking, which is one of my favorite Sabrina tracks of all time. That is probably my favorite on the album. Also, Go-Go Juice. I love that feeling of like the kind of crowd sound, the echo they put on her voice. That was really cool. I cannot wait to hear that live. I want to hear a lot of these songs live and just see Sabrina in general. But this project was really strong and I very much enjoy it to this day. The only thing that holds it back for me though is Nobody's Son. I just don't listen to this song. I think the first half is pretty poor. It's very robotic, which I know that's what she was trying to do, but it isn't very nice to listen to. The second half of the song, though, is very good, but aside from that, great album. Number 3, I Am Music, Playboi Carti, or Music, Playboi Carti. This was easily the most anticipated album of the year, and you could even argue of the decade. There was so much hype for this project, and I feel like he hit the nail on the head. He gave everybody what they wanted. 30 tracks. Although I said I enjoyed that Rebel by SD Kid was so short, sometimes a big album works, and when you go 30 for 30, how am I going to tell him to cut it down? I really like that no matter how many times I visit this album, it never goes stale, and to this day, I can still come back and play tracks. My favorite track is going to be Rather Lie. You know, The Weeknd, you put The Weeknd on a track, and it's instantly going to get favoritism from me. But also, the song is a fucking banger. It's riding around with the top off, bumping Rather Lie. Like, come on, man. These are peak times. There were a lot of big moments on this album, including that with the return of Uzi and Cardi was pretty cool to see that dynamic again. I don't really play those songs very much anymore, though, but so many highlights on this album. Toxic was a great track. Skepta's had a banger of a year. Travis Scott had a couple moments on this album as well, which Travis has had a very terrible year and dropped one of the worst albums of the year. So to see him putting up numbers on this project was impressive. This is the bag we need to see him tap back into. bangers, Trav, but always love for Trav. Evil Jordan, amazing song, one of the coldest beats. I think what makes Cardi so attractive to listeners is that he is truly so different. Very odd. Just take the Evil Jordan telephone, for example, like that ringing. These ideas are like demented, but they're still really cool in their own way, and that's why I like Cardi, because he's completely different. He fucking sings in a deep voice, a high voice, he's got like 10 different voices, and it's enjoyable, and anyone else who does it is kind of tacky, so it's impressive that he pulls that off. But I'm coming back to a few songs this album, and let's just talk about the intro. Smacking out the park with Pop Out. These albums all have, on this list, all have one thing in common: it's powerful intros. You really need a powerful intro, and Pop Out grabs you by the nuts and says you're not going anywhere. But one thing I would have liked with this album, wish we never got the leaks. Now, leaks don't exist, so I'm treating this like, someone might say, oh, well, we had Hood by Air 3 years ago when it leaked. No, that doesn't count. We're talking about when it was released, and it was released this year. Also, the weird sound effects, sometimes it was a bit too much. I love that mixtape feel that they had with Swamp Izzo screaming. I thought that was really cool. Some people don't like that, but the oven sound, or whatever the fuck that was, maybe it was a gun with distortion, they overdid it. They truly overdid it before a lot of drops on the project, so that probably held the album back a little bit, but genuinely a great album, still getting replay value to this day. Moving on, number 2, the boy Drake and P&D came together and gave us Some Sexy Songs for You. Now, this album is so close to being album of the year. A fucking amazing album. There are so many highlights on this album. Every single track is a vibe, and I can listen to it on any type of night. I just feel like this is a night album. This is when you get in the car, you go for a drive, the city lights are shining on you, and I ride around to this album all the time. I cannot think of a better album to listen to at night, and the only thing that could probably rival that would be another Drake album or P&D. So this is something we waited for a while. Like two Canadian kings coming together. It breaks my heart that it couldn't be Abel and Drake, but what are you going to do? We're still going to take this project for what it is, and it is outstanding. Some highlights for myself on the album. I think I'm going to go straight out with my favorite, because that is pretty far above the rest, is Somebody Loves Me. P&D and Drake created an absolute anthem on this album. Somebody Loves Me is so powerful, and I can pretty much recall majority of the times that I've listened to it, even though I've listened to it a lot of times, because every time I listen to it is a moment in itself. Nokia, come on, took over the clubs. Mr. Song of the Summer is always ready. For us, it was winter though, down in Australia, so I was in the clubs to Nokia. That was great. Raining in Houston, an early favorite of mine, and it's still a great track. I actually really like Meet Your Padre, which is a hot take because not a lot of people like this song, but if you're Greek, you'll know that if you're Greek, you know he sampled Konstantinos Argyros, so that's very cool. I like that. Give Me a Hug, another highlight. Brian Steele took some time to grow on me, but great project. Overall, opening scene tower, powerful intro. I'm not going to go through every track because there's something to say about every single one of them, but Drake and P&D killed this shit. This is the vibe we wanted from them. This is the vibe we expected from them. And I like how Drake stuck to an idea. He stuck to that dark R&B, that moody R&B. Sure, we got a few rap tracks, but it didn't drown the project, and it didn't become a trying to please everyone, which I love when Drake does that, but he kind of needed something to shut people up and tell them to shut the fuck up, because the rap fans were coming in wanting to pick at everything he did. So I think it was smart to sidestep and say, no, here, I'm going to feed my real fans first, not these people coming from the beef, these vultures who just want to pick on my lyrics and this and that. I'm going to sing, feed these fans, and then when I'm ready, I'm dropping Iceman. I think it was a good way to step back into the spotlight rather than going balls deep and having everyone jump on him because of what recently happened. Now, number 1, the anticipated number 1, no spoilers here, but you knew what this was going to be. Hurry Up Tomorrow by The Weeknd. This is the best album of 2025. I don't want to hear any other argument putting something else ahead of it. I don't even know what you could put ahead of it, really. I guess Some Sexy Songs has great replay value, but the quality of Hurry Up Tomorrow is untouched, and that's the same with every Weeknd project. This guy goes above and beyond. That's why he's my favorite. Beautiful vocals. Now, I was lucky enough to be at the premiere of Open Hearts in Sydney. That was beautiful, and that is still to this day one of my favorite tracks. But I think if I was going to go with a favorite track, it would have to be Reflections Laughing. What a beautiful symphony. Abel was just going crazy, and I kept saying, please push the vocals, man. We know you have these beautiful vocals, but he often hides behind the disco tracks and the instrumentals and synths. Not because he can't sing, we know he can sing, he's a very talented singer, but he doesn't always push the vocals more than necessary, which is fair enough. You don't really have to, because people aren't listening to those type of songs anymore with like vocally focused tracks. But he delivered quite a bit on this album with vocals. If I were to look to something like Big Sleep, towards the end of the song, he's just going off and you really feel like you're in a storm. Ending of the album, Without a Warning, Hurry Up Tomorrow, just fading into each other. What a story to be told throughout this whole album, by the way. But Hurry Up Tomorrow is such a beautiful song, and I love the fact that it fades into his first track, High for This, of House of Balloons. Like, what the fuck are we doing, man? Who's competing with this guy? Now, as I said, I could go through and talk about every song on this album, just as I said I would for Some Sexy Songs, but we don't have time for that. Let's just say 10 out of 10. This guy does not miss. He really nailed it. 22 for 22. That is impressive. And it's not like, I know I said that for IM Music, but I don't listen to all 30 tracks on IM Music. Not all of them are songs that I really like, right? But I'm saying 30 for 30 were good songs. There were no misses. Here, same thing, except on top of that, I love every track. And even, I'd say the weakest track on the album is probably Drive or Give Me Mercy, but still a really good track. Both individually, both great tracks. And I bumped them both, but that's because you're comparing them to such powerhouse songs. Absolutely love Sao Paulo, Baptized in Fear, Into Open Hearts. Come on, man. This guy, he's the best. Who's competing? And you've got the chart leader, Timeless, banger. Like, Cardi and The Weeknd did some crazy shit this year, as they always do. But so many beautiful tracks on this album. You can tear up, you can party. Just, like, that's everything you need from an album, especially a big album, and one to conclude The Weeknd's career. I'm so excited to see what he has in future, but I think this is a really great bookend for possibly the best discography of all time. And looking through the features, we've got Lana Del Rey, Giorgio Moroder, Playboy Cardi, Future, Trav, Florence the Machine, Anita. Really unique artists here, and really personalized to me as well. So shout out to Abel, man, because I know you made this shit for me. You tailored this album for me. I loved it. I remember my first listen through. I like the first 7 tracks. I just could not stop crying through this, and like that's how good it was. Album of the year for sure. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you have a list of your own. Share it with me below. Leave a like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. And Happy New Year. Let's see what 2026 has to bring. I'm waiting on the Iceman. And I'm sure there's going to be many more surprise albums through the year. So let's get straight to it.